So Bernie Sanders is out and talking about how he was betrayed by the Democratic Party. He was on the podcast, Flagrant Podcast. Betrayed? You got money from it. They paid you and you took it. Oh, man.
We want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment.
Really? You knew there was a Democratic establishment and there was money in it. You knew there was money. There's money to be made. Is he really? Is he claiming victimhood now? I mean, he's been on tour with AOC about fighting oligarchy. This is Bernie Sanders has been doing this for decades. He's all talk. He's a great opportunist. Now he's on the. This is more like, I don't know if I'm going to call that an apologetic tour. But he's apologizing and blaming it to the Democratic Party. It wasn't me. It was the Democratic Party. I was betrayed. No, you knew. And you exploited it. You knew you got some, I mean, you got richer.
That was the.
Wow. Okay.
That was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color. And they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media.
You're part of it. You designed it. You were part of it.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does. They run away. Look.
Yeah. Stop it. You are the elite. You are part of it. As a matter of fact, you're one of the head honchos on those Democratic elite.
Look, getting again.
Stop with that they.
I would hope that everybody who's watching the program is that we as a nation have got to end all forms of bigotry, right?
Yes.
That I start off as a basic assumption.
Yeah. Unless it's to your close friends, right?
Yeah, whether it's racism or sexism, homophobia, or xenophobia, whatever it is.
Yeah, you were calling out Trump supporters, all of that stuff. All of them. You had the microphone, you had the megaphone. You didn't back down from it. You knew if you knew it was wrong and you knew it was all Democratic, then you were you're being betrayed, you're being pushed, whatever. You made money.
But liberal Democrats talk about that all the time. And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand
now
for?
You're saying that. Now you're saying that. You won't even fight back when you were pushed by the BLM when you were speaking and you're on your mini rally. I think I remember that clip. There was a black individual that pushed you out of there, and you didn't fight back.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Not scared, but he knew that there was not money. There's money to be made, so he just kept quiet.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier: class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not?
I don't know if one of these guys, especially, the guy with the mustache, I forgot his name. I don't know if if they called him on this. BS.
Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, you know, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm sorry. I do feel like vowing to stop taking super PAC money is a great first step, but also being an honest politician. You put up a bill to stop the sale of weapons to Israel, and there's no amount of money AIPAC can spend to not get you reelected. And I feel if we had more honest politicians, then
courageous ones.
Yeah,
you raised. This is a very this is a good discussion.
Why are you shocked?
I'm shocked because
He's shocked because he was on that little, echo chamber for many, many years, for decades. He's shocked. He doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know how to react around people that have different ideas.
You're asking questions that are not often asked.
Yeah.
This episode has been promoted by Walter O'Malley's Foundation.
All right. It's a painful issue. I mean, because I deal with it every day in Washington. You're running for office. If you, in your heart, understand what's going on in Gaza right now, and again, it's almost painful to talk about it. The United States is complicit in the starvation of children as we speak right this moment.
Really?
Okay. Mass malnutrition, etc. And you say, that's wrong, man. And I'm not going to give Netanyahu another nickel, but I know that the day I say that, AIPAC is going to pour a huge amount of money. So what's the choice you have? The choice you have is, okay, they're going to throw a lot of money at me, but I'm going to make this a major campaign issue.
Ooh.
I ain't going to run away from it.
Yeah.
What do we stand for as a nation? And I'll tell you something, getting back to the Democratic Party. What the Democratic establishment people say, well, Gaza, it's an issue out there, but it's not the main issue. It's not the pocketbook issues, more important. Healthcare is more important. But you know what? I'll tell you this is my own view, is what people have a sense, consciously and unconsciously, if you are turning your back on starving children in Gaza, why the hell am I going to trust you on anything?
It's a great point.
Well, there's a lot of things and why there are a lot of people, a lot of children starving in Gaza. I mean, there was billions of dollars being poured in there. U.S. aid alone, I mean, they were still, Doge highlighted some of those wasted or money that's not being source of being not being delivered. So where is the money coming from? I mean, where is money going to? Is it like being stopped and stolen by Hamas or the Palestinian government? Or is it way before that? Whoever's in charge on those money. So therefore, kids are not getting the food, and also Hamas wants that. That's how they play the game. Hamas wants to put innocent people in the forefront of the war, so you can have they can win the public opinion. You know what I mean? So you really have to get into that. I've never heard Bernie Sanders something like that. It's just the optics of it that, there's children starving. You got to ask why. What happened to those money? Gaza is not that big. I mean, billions and billions of dollars being poured in there. Don't tell me that there's still people or children hungry.
Is that a fair point?
I think it's a very fair point. I think if you turn your back on starvation in general, especially if you're complicit in it, I think that's where a lot of at least voters feel like there is some sort of separation. And if you make them realize that there isn't, right? If we are protecting or funding or rewarding this in any way, then you are complicit. But I think voters feel like they're too derivative from it. They're like, oh, well, that's not exactly what I'm voting for. And I do think, not to undermine those other issues, but I do think the kitchen table issues, I think those are incredibly important. And I think the more that people are struggling internally in our country, the less of a concern we have externally. So it is a tough balance. If you make your entire campaign about Gaza, the people in whatever small area that you represent will go, hey, listen, that's horrible what's happening over here.
You're right. You're
but we're
exactly
struggling
right.
too. So don't forget about us.
You got it right.
So how do you balance those two?
Well, that's what politics is about. I mean, you make.
I feel like you've done it well. I feel like you talk way more about internal issues than external ones.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's all talk. He was all like, meaning like, we gotta tax the rich, get the money from the rich so we can feed the poor. That's how Bernie Sanders is. That's been for decades. That's how he stays afloat. That's why he's so rich now compared to 10, 15 years ago. Triple his net worth.
I do. And Gaza then becomes a moral issue that you cannot run away from.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, why are we where we are? And it's a funny thing, I was talking to my staff when we were driving in today and reviewing, there was I think it was Pew, P-E-W, they do these studies.
Polls?
Yeah, they do
Pew
these.
Research.
And they asked the question, I may be a little bit wrong here, but they said they do it. And they say, are you better off today than somebody in your situation, middle class, whatever you are, were 40 years ago? That's the question.
Yeah.
What do you think the answer was?
This is an insane statistic. I've seen this research. They're like that people are making inflation adjusted the same wage that they were making 50 years ago.
I don't mean that. I don't even mean statistically. I'm going beyond that.
Are you better off than somebody?
How do you feel? Do you think somebody in your condition was living better 40 years ago, or are you living better today?
I think the average person would say no.
That's right. That's an astonishing. All right, so
I would say better.
Let's go through the economics of it, then we'll go through the broader issue. Economics, this is an amazing fact. And again, it's something that people don't talk about because you got a lot of the Republicans want to make change. It's almost always the wrong kind of change. And the Democrats want to maintain the status quo, which is unsustainable.
Yeah.
That's what the choices that people have.
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes
sided with
if the status quo is horrible, any change looks better. And I think
which is why Donald Trump is the president.
That's what I think a lot of Democrats don't understand. Like, you've been very critical. We're lifelong, I can't speak for everybody, but I grew up in New York City. I'm a lifelong Democrat. And we were very critical of the Democratic establishment. And it was through the lens of, hey, you're not addressing the concerns of the people. And by doing that, we were framed in a way that I think, and we continue to be framed in a way I think it was very unfair.
Oh, you don't know nothing about being framed.
It's a refusal.
I don't feel sorry for you. I'm sorry.
But it's just a refusal to look in the mirror.
That's exactly right. All right, here's a fact. This is an astounding fact. Nobody talks about it. And this is the other thing.
Really?
More important than anything else is people want to say, do you know what is going on in my life?
Yeah.
And if you don't talk about that reality, no one's going to trust you at all.
Yeah.
All right, fact.
But let's call people Latinx, Bernie.
That's right. That's the issue. All right. Over the last 52 years, I may be off a little bit here, but more or less I'm right. Over the last 52 years, there's been an explosion in technology, right? Mm-hmm. This stuff that we're looking at did not exist. Every worker in America is
Sherlock.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Correct.
Okay, computers, etc. How much have real inflation accounted for wages increased in that 52-year time? Obviously, with all of that worker productivity increasing,
Nothing.
we must be making a lot more money,
Nothing.
right?
Nothing.
0%.
Zero.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an argument it's a little bit less in real housing costs, healthcare costs.
Because TVs are cheaper, you think that you're living a more luxurious lifestyle.
But take a deep breath about that fact. Yeah. What does it say? Meanwhile, during that same period of time, there was a massive, according to RAND Corporation, not a socialist organization, there was a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%.
But Bernie, surely they're paying taxes.
This is, you know what I mean? He goes back to that thing that the 1%er, the 2% or 10% or whatever rich is becoming richer. Bernie, you're part of it, man. And you're getting richer for just, preaching that kind of nonsense. That look at it. Yeah.
It's on all that new profits they're making, right?
Right. Right. But that is getting back to this important issue, which I kind of started, what is reality? So if you're the average worker out there,
yes, sir,
You're seeing people on the top getting phenomenally rich.
Yeah.
You're no better off. And by the way, the likelihood is your kid is going to be worse off than you are, right?
Yeah.
That's a tough reality. Why is that?
That's
Who
worse.
the hell is even talking about? A, why is that? And B, what the hell do we do about
And
it?
I think that was the appeal of Trump, is he appeared to be talking to us.
Exactly.
Whereas Democrats are kind of condescending and ignoring it.
All right. Essentially, Democrats say, status quo is working okay. We're going to tinker around the edges, make a little bit of a change here. Trump says the whole goddamn
horrible.
system is broken.
Yeah.
But he said, I will fix it.
Yeah.
Well, his solutions will make it worse. But he at least acknowledged.
Yes.
He's not good. Yeah, see, Bernie Sanders' mentality now he's different than Trump. You know, Trump is about empowering you and not blaming the 1%er or the 2%er, because the way, you know, the way how the system works, the way he said it's just, when the system is broken, what Trump means is like there's a lot of, you know, corruption, red tapes, and also the, you know, government reach, or the government's got so big that everything is just, you know, is wild. Just look at Doge. I mean, they're finding a lot of those wasteful grants and money, you know, and that's what Trump's talking about, fixing it, not fixing it by having the rich people, the 1%er, what Bernie Sanders calls, to pay more taxes, to cough up more money to give to the poor, more like a Robin Hood mentality. And Bernie Sanders wants to be the conduit to do that, the one that would, you know, give the money to me so I can give it to the poor, that kind of thing. He's already rich. As a matter of fact, he's not calling he used to say millionaire. Say, oh, those millionaire. Now he's saying billionaire because he's already a millionaire. Oh boy, now this Bernie Sanders never gonna learn. All right, keep it here.